welcome to my studio. I'm Jessie and this is the Knit Up and Dye podcast, episode 84, Shifting Plans. As always, I'm going to start out with my list of thank yous. Special thank you goes out, of course, to all of my new subscribers and my ongoing subscribers. What you see here is all about you, and I love you guys. I love to hear from you. I love your stories and your questions, and I look forward to doing this every week and having an opportunity to sit down and talk with you. Hello and welcome go out to Michaela Marie, Hillary, Lorna, and Gray-Haired Lady 22. Thank you for adding me to your lives. Special love and thanks go out, as always, to Faye, Julie, Janelle, Erica, Adriana, Wayne, Sonia, Patricia, Lisa Lette, Bette, Benty, Cappy, Kath, Christy, Neetsy, Charlotte, Chris, Roseanne, Linda, Marie, Eve, David, Donna, Betty Ann, Scott and John, Carolyn, Kate, Terry, Janet, Monica, Bex, Nancy, and Rachel. Thank you. My love goes out, of course, to my Zoom family. I miss you guys. I need to get back on Zoom and to hang out with you. Rob, Roz, Paula, Brian, Jen, Elizabeth, Nicole M, Nicole B, Katie, Shirley, Tracy, and Georgianne. I miss you guys. Warm hello and thank you go out to my patrons. You honor me. So, I had a call for feedback regarding my Patreon tiers, my benefit tiers, and I've gotten some great information from you guys. Thank you for taking the time to do that. That is still open, that is still available. You're welcome to go and leave your feedback. And I'm taking the comments into consideration. I'm looking at making some minor changes to the benefits. Many of you told me that you're perfectly happy with it the way it is. Thank you. A couple of you did say, hey, we'd like to see more of this. One of the biggest changes likely is a shift is going to happen in providing you more options as to what yarns you get. A number of people said that they would have rather had a choice of something from my entire store, or they would have preferred a different base weight. And so I'm looking at how I can incorporate that and make that happen for you guys. Also, I wanted to apologize for Patreon. There have been a couple of technical glitches with them. This is something that they are aware of and they're working on. They had a situation where when they did the donations, they do it like at the first of the month, they had one credit card company that was declining cards, and they weren't catching that in time to rerun the cards and to deal with their vendor about that. And then when it happened a second time, my understanding is when there's two declines, even if it has nothing to do with your card, the system is designed to just disenroll you. My apologies. I know how frustrating that is when you have everything set up, everything should be working, and it fails. It's crazy frustrating, and then you go back in and you have to do the whole re-enrollment. Hang in there with me, guys. They are, to some degree, a fledgling company. These things happen. They're working out the kinks. I don't have any control over it. I have the ability to put my posts in. I have the ability to set my tiers. Outside of that, I don't touch the payment system. I don't have any access to that. I wish I did. I wish I did. I wish I could say, no, everything's fine with that person and do not disenroll them. And what is happening with the credit card company? Let me call them and find out why certain cards are declining. It's not about anything having to do with you guys. Also, it doesn't tell me until after the fact, so I can't see it happening until the end. And I do see if somebody decides to change tiers, great, you guys have that power, thank you. If somebody decides to leave, they do an exit survey, and I get a little bit of information out of the exit survey that you had a change in income or that you're just no longer interested. Great, thank you. But I never get it until after the fact, so I don't have live access into that information. If you are frustrated with Patreon, contact me, let me know what's going on, and I will fight from my level with them and see if I can't get us heard. Please don't give up on me. We have new things coming, lots of new things. In fact, this is called Shifting Plans for a reason. I've injured my shoulder again, yeah, and I had alluded to it over the past couple episodes, or the last episode anyway, that it was hurting again, and it sure is. Aleve is an amazing medication. Aspirin, acetaminophen, ibuprofen aren't touching me, but Aleve works. And so I have my Aleve regimen in place, and I'm doing that, and I'm taking time off from my knitting. And I'm shifting my target, my focus, because I need time to heal again. And I do have a doctor's appointment Tuesday, so we'll talk to my surgeon again and see if this is more physical therapy, if something else is going on, if I've simply irritated again, if the weather and caffeine and new puppy and stress and has simply exacerbated the situation, and I'm okay. But it's hurting, so we need to do some self-care, and that's what we're gonna do. So I'm shifting my focus, and I'm spending more time reading, and I have all kinds of fun new books to show you guys. I'm spending more time doing my design work, and although I'm not able to knit right now, a big chunk of design work is very mental. It's very thinking and processing and determining. And sometimes that is rushed. Sometimes we get right to the needles. And having this time out that I need to take forces me to be a little bit more brain heavy with the project. And so I'm blogging about that quite extensively on my Patreon page and getting some exclusive content out to you. And there's going to be a lot more exclusive content as part of the Patreon program. If you are not familiar with what I'm talking about, if you're new to my podcast, welcome, hello, and please check out my Patreon page. There's great information there about how you can support me as an artist, how you can support me as a podcaster through minor donations of whatever level you choose, and there's something in it for you, absolutely, every time. So the focus has shifted. It's shifting my plans slightly in the meantime. I did get some knitting done before this all came screaming to a stop. I got a couple more squares done on my How to Eat an Elephant blanket. I'm excited about that, or I was making a little bit of progress. I was feeling really chuffed about it, that hey, all right, fall's here, cold weather's here, I can put a square on maybe 2 or 3 nights a week in front of the TV while I decompress after work. And yeah, we're gonna get back to that. Hold that thought. I started another pair of socks because I had finished my where are they? My pensive socks, haha. I think I showed these to you guys last time, or they were super close to done. I love these, and this year was supposed to be the year of socks. I was supposed to knit a whole bunch of socks for myself. I needed to do some replacement of some socks that had honestly worn out. And so I was really excited. Here I was going to cast on another pair of socks, get going on that, and I did. I cast them on, and I got that far. One sock, and I'm about an inch below the cuff. They're really pretty. I'm really excited about it. It's one of these crazy pre-printed Regia balls of yarn. I love these. They're so unexpected. The yarn is self-patterning, and they have kind of a faux Fair Isle kind of thing going on. So you just knit. You can knit a vanilla sock in the round while you're commuting, and you get a fun pair of socks. Easy peasy. This is color number 17920. Yeah. They don't give these creative names. I think it's batch number 09375 or some such. I'm not seeing a color name. It might be, there's a name here that says Mix It. Maybe it's Mix It. I don't know. That it was kind of on the back side, underside of the label. But it's the Regia they're pretty. I like them. I bought it on a whim at the end of last year, knowing that I was going to be doing a lot of socks this year, and so I started these. And it occurred to me before I put an inch onto them that maybe I should work these inside out. Maybe I should be doing these Portuguese style just to give my shoulder a break, and I didn't. If I were to start doing the Portuguese style, I would be knitting in the Portuguese style. Purling Portuguese is a breeze. It's so easy. I would need to refresh again to remember how to do the knit stitch in Portuguese. Certainly it's an option, and that will give me a little bit of stress relief, because when I'm hurting, when I am not at my best, when I need to self-soothe, oh, knitting is the best. And when this is what's causing pain, oh, it's so frustrating. And really, I get very depressed very easily about it, because I can't self-soothe. I can't take care of myself. The emotional state that this does for me when I can't do this. So this is kind of on the back burner, and as the pain is less, and I need to be careful of that. That's an interesting point. Just because I took my leave and I'm not feeling radical stabbing pain in my shoulder at this moment doesn't mean I should sit down and put on 2 inches of this, because I'm gonna pay for it later. The drug is a mask right now, and it's hiding the pain from me, but the pain's still there, the injury is still there, and aggravating it just because I can't feel it is not a smart thing to do. So I'm looking at them longingly, waiting to see what the next color is that's gonna come up. It is a, like I said, a self-patterning yarn. I just think it's so pretty. I don't know if the camera's picking up. It's lovely violet, purples and reds and some white in there. It's really pretty. Because it's a self-patterning, I think I want to make another pair of General Hog Buffers. I can't think of the name of the sock. I've knit like 2 pairs of them. It has a really interesting squircle. Has a very interesting squared heel that's done in the round. Square and a circle, squircle. Clever. I think I'm going to knit another pair of those. I haven't decided yet. And clearly I have time to decide. So, socks on hold. So I got a couple squares of my blanket done, and I started a sock, and I'm kind of on pause. And so I'm spending much more time doing the mental aspects of my design work. And like I said, I've been doing some reading. I bought some books. So let me set this aside so that I can show off my pile of books. And it's a pile. They're heavy. They're heavy. When I went up to Unwound, I was hanging out with my dear friend Terry up there, and Terry had a book that she had pulled out of, it was either out of her local library, or it was a book that she had pulled out of her guild library, and it was really interesting. She loaned it to me one evening, and I sat in my hotel room and I read 83 pages of it like that. And it was so engaging and interesting and thought-provoking that I came home and I picked up a copy on Amazon for a song, a used copy. Knitting Around the World. I have really enjoyed this book. This is a multi-strand history of a time-honored tradition, and it literally has every region of our planet and how knitting has touched or evolved or is part of their history there, and it's a really interesting read. Now mind you, it's not really in-depth in a lot of places. Some of it has little bits of patterns, or it has smaller stories about how it affected very specific things, literature or religion, or how it was tied into the economy. Not an all-inclusive history, but little vignettes of the history of knitting. And it's so interesting. One of the things that really caught me and why I bought the books was that on page 83, if I remember correctly, let me flip open to 83. It's as far as I got in the hotel room, and I was like, I have to own this. I'm not going to be able to locate it quickly. Anyway, they were talking about dyeing yarn and how to get a certain look in the yarns. What they were doing was they were tying knots in the skein as a resist and then dyeing it in the indigo. And to do that, of course, they got these wonderful variations that they could kind of plan, or that added a different look to the yarn as they knit it. And I was like, I do that. I'm not the most innovative person alive, certainly not, and I certainly did not create this technique. It's a technique that I played with and stumbled on. It was on page 89. They're talking about how they were able to get a variegated look by tying knots in the skein and then using that resist technique to leave whites where the dye didn't touch. And this was a Danish thing. This came out of Denmark, and just, it was something that they did in the early 1600s. So I was like all chuffed that I had sorted out something that was actually a very historic technique. And it just showed me how connected the human mind is, how we repeat ourselves, how we all have this one thread of existence where we can come up with the same thing over and over and over again, and how we reinvent it or we build on it, and how it's the same thing but slightly different. We all put our own twist on it, and it's kind of one of the things that I promote very heavily here, is that I'll show you my techniques, I'll show you how I dye, I'll spread it all out for you, and I share my craft because it is art. And ultimately what was done in the 1600s we can still do today and put our own spin on it, and it's not copying, it's us expressing our human voice. I dig on that. That's that. Anyway, wonderful book, love it, and it is a tome. It is a big hefty beast. This is a great big huge book, 264 pages. I picked it up for a song on Amazon. Honestly, I think the shipping probably cost more than the book did, but happy, love it, would recommend it. I also picked up a couple of other books. I'm thinking about knitting another sweater. I know, didn't I just tell you all that I can't knit? That doesn't mean I can't think about knitting. I'd like another sweater. I don't want to do another fingering weight. I want something a little bit thicker, a little bit warmer, denser. We have this horrible cold snap coming through. We're supposed to get our first freeze of the season tonight. And so my mindset is very much in, oh my God, I'm going to be cold and I need to be warm. And I love the idea, the romanticism, the beauty of a knitted Gansey, the texture, to achieve such visual interest with only a knit and a purl is very fascinating to me. And to put so many different patterns on it, it doesn't have to be a single pattern. It can be an entire sampler of different stitches. It is fascinating, and it's an achievement in my book. I look at that and I think, wow, there's a lot of hoops you got to jump through there. So I picked up a copy of Knitting Ganseys. Beth Brown-Reinsel, I'm probably killing her name, is Traditional Techniques and Patterns for Traditional Sweaters. Lovely, lovely hardcover book. It has everything. It really, they even talk about knitting a little sampler sweater, a miniature sweater, to learn the techniques. And I think what attracts me most, not just the texture, not just the history behind it, not just the shape and the bulk and the size and the warmth of it, is the underarm gusset. Hey, if you're going to knit a sweater, make sure that you have a focal point that is just what you want. The underarm gusset, my one meh about the sweaters that I wore growing up was that I always felt like my arms were pinned to my sides, that I could never reach without my whole sweater coming up. And it was a discomfort. I was hot, I was unable to move, which is a big chunk of why I struggled even with knitting sweaters, and I have so many failed sweaters, was that I wasn't understanding that my personal body shape, I have a deep armhole, and I needed to learn how to make the adjustments in patterns, how to change or correct or add to a pattern to give myself the comfort and the ease that I needed. And the traditional Gansey does a gusset in the armpit that solves that problem. I've never knit one. I've done the math, I've done the reading, I understand the concept, I can see it in the pictures. I know that this is ultimately the way my body was built, and it makes a lot of sense for me, that I just need that there. So I'm looking at this book and oh, it's tempting. There are so many beautiful designs in here, and it has you do the little knit sampler and you knit a tiny sweater, and it talks about all kinds of different techniques and cables and design variations and motifs. But then it's got all these instructions for different patterns, including how to change it up and make it your own. And I'm really tempted here. I think this is likely to be my next project. And I have some yarn that I dyed up for another sweater that is in a sport weight. I had specifically brought it in for myself, and I dyed a sport weight yarn. It's very close to a fingering. I'm probably insane. I probably really ought to look at doing a worsted weight, but I've got that yarn, and there's several patterns in here that use sport. It's interesting, they use either sport or Aran, and gauge, measurements, math, we can sort that out, and I can make it worsted or something else. I don't necessarily need to bring in a different base. So excellent book, really impressed, well laid out, excellent photography, very detailed. If you're at all interested, I recommend this book. Also on my book of recommendations, Norah Gaughan's Knitted Cable Sourcebook. This woman is flippin' brilliant. Everything she touches, I am forever impressed with her stuff. She has a very organic eye. She takes things in nature and she translates it into yarn, and her work is beautiful, whether it's her lace or her cables or her asymmetrical work. I'm always impressed with her stuff. I also am a cable junkie. I love cables. You would think I would knit more of them. When I first started knitting, when I first started doing pattern design, I was all about cables. I get so addicted to the rhythm of them. I love them. I think they're so beautiful, and it's so visually interesting to chase up a pattern with your eye and see how things interweave and cross and twist, and that's my happy place. Lace is very pretty. I'm not a girly girl. Stripes, I like stripes, clean lines, but cables are where I live. That's my heart. And this is the breakthrough guide to knitting with cables and designing your own. That's where I got stuck. She has so many different, really intricate, beautiful cable designs in here that just are so stunning. Let's see if I can pull that in there. They're so beautiful. And she talks about how to compose a cable placket and make it your own, and what things you need to consider, biasing and spacing and negative space to really make your cables pop. I have barely glanced at this book. She has a few projects in here. Her schematics are always fantastic. There is a lot of charts in here, and just the work is so beautiful. So beautiful. And always, I'm not sure who she works with, editor or publisher wise. I mean, clearly I can look at the book and tell you exactly who, but her team really does a beautiful job of making sure that the photography and the samples, the swatches that her stuff is photoed in is exquisite. You get so sucked in to what you're seeing. I just want to sit down and knit cables. I just want to knit cables. It's like watching the Great British Baking Show. 15 minutes of that and you're all about a need for a pretzel or a cupcake or, well, hell, let's make a wedding cake. You get so sucked into it and it all of a sudden seems so obtainable, so easy. They make it look so easy, and her stuff really does make it seem really within grasp, and it's beautiful. I am looking forward to several afternoons with a big mug of tea and my sofa to pour through this. This is also a great big tome. This is another 275 pages of happy right here. Beautiful photography. If you're adding to your library and you're all about cables, this one's a keeper. Last but not least, I've looked at this and looked at this and looked at this. I am a collector of stittionaries, books that have stitches in them. Nothing to me is more inspiring and useful to me when I have startitis to help me rein in and refine a design than to look through a stitch dictionary. Often in my designs, I will find a stitch that I like and I'll alter it. That's part of making it your own. That's part of being a designer. But sometimes you just need the visual of all the possibilities of what you can do with color work or knits and purls or laces to have that jumping off point, to have that creative point. I have curated a huge following through Pinterest and through Instagram where I have a constant feed of knitting. Whether it's your projects or it's your puppy dogs or it's what you're eating, it's usually my knit people. And in crafters, there are some illustrators and some painters, there's some pottery artists that I follow, there's some weavers that I follow, and I'm very, very visual, and having other people's projects, I have to be careful. I'll be inspired by it and I'll want to replicate something too close to that to be able to call it my own. Sometimes I can take her scarf and her mitts and her hat and I can shake them up and shake out a design of my own that was inspired by but doesn't replicate anything. With the stitch dictionaries, I have the visuals of the stitches to be able to discern, yes, but instead of 5 stitches, I want 8. And yes, but there's not enough void around that, so I'm going to span that out, and I'm going to... It gives you a jumping off point so you don't have to swatch quite so much. you get the inspiration points to the point where now I'm going to swatch and see if it works and what I can do to make it more my own. And I will often do what I refer to as fluid swatching, where I'll cast on and I'll start to knit the stitch. And once it starts to get sizable, I know whether I'm liking it or not. And then I start to change it. I start to change aspects of it where I'll add an extra row, or I'll widen the design, or I'll narrow the design and frame it somehow. And I play with that, and I'll do a rep of that, sometimes 2 or 3, and then change it up if I'm not quite happy with it, and go from there, so that I have one running sampler of kind of the evolution of the stitch as I developed it. It gives me the ability as well to change gauge, because all of a sudden I can look at it and go, I like this stitch, but it's not compressed enough or it's not open enough, and I can swap out do another repeat with a bigger or smaller needle and really flesh out what I'm doing. I prefer to do this fluid swatching when I'm designing, rather than having, here's a square of this, and here's a square of this, and here's a square of this. I want to see the progression so that I can mentally edit as I go and kind of flesh out the design. So, as that was all the way around the barn to get to this book. I found another stitch dictionary that I love, and it's Alterknit. Alterknit is 200 Modern Knitting Motifs by Andrea Rangel. I'm so bad with names. I'm so sorry. This is like one of those lifelong things. My mother makes fun of me because I still say names wrong. I'll never forget. I had been reading a book and the name Phoebe was in it. P-H-O-E-B-E. I was young. Phonetically it was Phoebe, it was Phoebe or Phoebe, or I didn't even know. The name Phoebe was not familiar to me, and so I called her like Phoebe, and my mother had a wild laugh over that one, and it's Phoebe. I will forever remember that it's Phoebe now. But and Siobhan, really, the spelling of Siobhan, please don't take offense to my ignorance. S-I-O-B-H-A-N, one of my favorite names. I think it is beautiful. I wish my mother had named me Siobhan. The spelling is radical. I don't get it. Whatever. The rules that we have. So I am really bad with names. Please forgive me if I am saying your name wrong because I only ever see it in text. Just send me an email and give me some kind of phonetic that it's like test. I will do my best. Anyway, long way around the barn. God, I'm chatty today. Alterknit Stitch Dictionary. Let's get that in front of the camera for you. This is just wonderful. It is all these motifs of color work, and they all appear to be, I think they're all two color. Yeah, they're two color. There's some that show a little bit of like gradient, and certainly you can always use a variegated and a solid and really have fun with it. Just beautiful stuff, unexpected stuff, doggy paw prints and cactuses and spiders and really fun things, as well as patterns and swirls and leaves and aliens and flowers. Just beautiful, really, really beautiful collection of motifs. I'm so in love with this swirl. I want to do something with that. I don't know what I'll do with it, but a book upon which to dream, to fantasize, and to plot and imagine and appreciate. I think a big chunk of why I like to collect these books is just the fascination that we come up with these things. Isn't this stuff amazing? I mean, really, these are charts that have two colors. It's either white or black in the chart, and there are so many different ways to arrange those two squares and come up with so many different designs. It's mind-boggling. It really is. So, books. I have been ever so happy just taking some time to really have a mental knit, to shift my plans and to focus kind of on the mental design work and get things kind of down on paper, and brew on ideas and really plot what I want in it, what matters to me, what I'm going to do. Do I have any actual solid plans? Yeah, I got a sock and I got a blanket that I want to work on. I know I want to do a sweater, and I've got this amazing dictionary of color work that I want to play with, but not at the moment. Not at the moment. What did I do with my fancy list? I want to make sure I talked about everything I meant to talk to you guys about. I have my new bases in. I have my sock 50-gram skeins. I did not dye this weekend. I wanted to, but boiling hot water and sore shoulders and lifting of heavy things are not a good plan. I also got in my DK minis. They're 20-gram minis. They're 54 yards each, and the pattern design that I'm working on over on my Patreon page is likely to use those. I'm really excited about it. So feel free to pop on over to Patreon and For as little as $1, you're going to get access to the exclusive content, and you can see what's going on over there. The ornament exchange, I just want to do a short reminder before I let you all go. We are planning to ship to me your ornaments by November 3rd so that I can get everything turned around and get them back out to you by the end of November so that you can decorate your holiday trees. I've had a couple people reach out to me and say, life happened, it's not going to happen. I get it. It's okay. Do not beat yourself up. Believe it. I have 3 of my ornaments done. My goal is to do 6. Everybody we asked to do 6 ornaments for the exchange. I will get those done. The Olive Company should sell me stock. I'm going to get those done. But I understand if you can't. And that's why we have people that have done angel ornaments for us, so that the exchange is going to happen no matter what. Thank you for your honesty. Thank you for coming forward. Thank you for letting me know it's not going to happen. If it is going to happen for you, yay, we're very excited. I can't wait, and I am looking forward to doing this again already next year because it has been so much fun. The ornaments that I have already received are so beautiful and so inspiring and so exciting, and they range wildly in techniques. Some are very simple, and there's an elegance to simple, and some are very intricate and very detailed, and I stare at it, I'm fascinated. Oh my God, look at the work that went into this. Do not beat yourself up. Your work is your work, and your work is art, and I can't wait to see it and love it. And I can't wait to finish mine. Baby steps, baby steps. I think that is everything I have for you guys this week. Believe it, I have guilt that I don't have knitting to show you, but you gotta put yourself first sometimes, and you gotta heal. I am going to go and edit this and do some physical therapy while I'm waiting for things to load, and I'm going to plot what we're going to talk about next week. And I love you guys, and I can't wait to see you then. Happy knitting, happy reading, happy physical therapy, if that's what you're doing. And next time. Bye, guys.